I was glad to get it moved dry.
Yeah.
Funny thing is, it just kind of absorbed it in because we were needing it so bad, you really couldn't see any runoff.
No.
For that much rain.
Okay.
On. Ready? Yep.
Okay. Looking at the picture. Okay. Good morning. Welcome to the April 17th Board of County Commissioner meeting. Let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. First item on the agenda is public comments. Do we have any public comments?
Good morning, Commissioners. Here to present May, employee of the month.
He didn't look happy to be here earlier. He smiled. Been set up.
So this is what was written about the Reds and got it all figured out here.
Surprise.
Surprise.
Riley County's drug court just completed its first year and celebrated its first graduate. Intensive supervision officer Brett Clark supervises all drug court participants in addition to maintaining a regular caseload. This supervision is intensive and time consuming, sometimes involving after-hour home visits, a calls to your cell phone. Brett's dedication and hard work to have been instrumental to the success of drug court. He is no nonsense while also being empathetic, and above all, he is patient. So I have for you a plaque. And 2 movie tickets. Thank you. And you'll also be have a special parking spot for the month of May.
The best part of all, huh? They walk from the other water.
So I'll get your picture.
All righty.
Do you have any comments?
Well, should have known better. When Shelley was still at Dawson, why is she coming down? No more of that. No, it's been great. Drug court's been going really well. So we've been doing it for a little over a year now, and we've had one successful client. Well, actually 3 now. We're just waiting to do their graduation party here in May 24th. So right now our success rate's perfect. We're doing wonderful. So it's been a lot of work. We're working on trying to ease that, but it's worthwhile for this community. Absolutely. So, yeah,
Thank
Your work. Hold on behind the desk there.
Where do you want me?
Right in the middle.
Your work works.
Move the orange during.
Oh.
Yeah.
No free advertising.
I'll let you keep the purple cup, but the orange one's like, yeah. There we go. All right, 1, 2, 3. Let's get another one. 1, 2, 3. All right.
Appreciate it.
Congratulations, Brett.
Congratulations.
Yeah, well,
I'll send you the big.
that's a really good program.
Yeah.
Really good shame that we have it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll be back.
like these recent ones when somebody's in here and
Yeah.
they go and you go,
What?
huh?
Please stop. They're getting creative at it.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, what?
I saw them,
Yeah,
maybe the gig was up.
that's great. How did they get him down here? So you had to present something?
I don't know, 'cause that's what I was looking for things on the agenda.
I didn't see
The
anything.
commission wanted to talk to us about something, that's a lot of times what we do, scare people to death and take it down here.
Okay, is there any more public comment? Okay, seeing then we'll move to commission comments. Commissioner McMillan.
All right, well, Thursday afternoon was the NBAF Community Liaison Group meeting, and this meeting was a tour of the NBAF facility. I'd been through it 2 years ago when it was still under construction. And now that it's built, it's quite an amazing building. And one of our guides was an operational guy that's been there, explained how all the systems worked on, bringing in clean air and removing all the stuff. And the other guide was one of the scientists that's going to be working in it, and he acted like a kid in the candy store. He was saying, "Oh, look, we can do this. We can do." I mean, he's really excited about all the possibilities of. He's worked in places before, but he's so excited about the possibilities of other experiments they can do now, which made it kind of fun. And we all kind of even got a kick out of it. And he was sincere. He was just so excited about the possibilities. And they showed us they've got suits that they wear when they're in the working with the animals or the different stuff. I mean, complete head coverings, boots and everything. And they're hooked up to air lines from the ceiling. So they have positive air. So it's blowing fresh air into them, and it's got vents in the back. So they all have completely fresh air coming in. There's no chance of them breathing any of the stuff they're working with. There's and also, and the other thing though, he said they talk because they wear like 4 pairs of gloves for different things. And he said for training to learn how to use them, they're working with Legos with all their gloves on. To learn how to manipulate stuff. It was really interesting stuff. They discussed some of the procedures of how they care for the livestock and work them into it to get used to being around people in these space suits. And then also at the end of the day, the clothes they've worn under the suits, they have to leave them in the locker room for their special cleaning. And they go into a shower. And then have to come out the other side to the locker room to put on the street clothes to leave. And then they also have an open, I think it's close to being open, a cafeteria inside the containment area, so nobody has to go out for lunch or anything. Because they said at Plum Island, if somebody wants to go for lunch, they have to go through the whole cleaning procedure to go and leave and then come back. So they'll have a place inside to do that. And the floor coverings and the wall coverings are all specially designed so that it's cleaning, but also that they're not something to bother the workers or the livestock, and had special flooring. It's epoxy, but it's a little bit of texture so it doesn't get slick when it's washed down, because they have to hose down everything. Then they've got a special system to clean all the air and waste and everything before it leaves the building. There's all kinds of filters and stuff. It's quite an amazing building, really.
What do they do with the animal waste?
They've got a digester that's called, well, that's even for the animals themselves. When they're done with the animals, the digest, and then it goes through an incinerator. And they take that ash through another incinerator.
Really?
Yes, before anything leaves.
That's basically nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
Pile of ash.
They got all the lab and everything is 1 floor. Above it, there's a whole bunch of pipes and everything that brings in and the fresh air in and cold air out and filters all the air. And then below it is all the drains, how everything has to be cleaned before it gets out. It's very interesting. It was, and they've also, she was saying they've hired we're in the process of hiring a professional team to come in and video the whole, take some videos going through the whole thing. You can show guests later that they'll have the video to show people what's gone in, because once the diseases and stuff starts bringing in, no visitors will be allowed.
Hmm.
Um, so it's just, and like I say, they've got every so often, they've got these big screens that has a map of the whole building, and has different lights on each one, so if there is ever a problem in one, everybody can know, go to into that area that there's been a error violation or something. It was quite a impressive building. And that's all good. Oh, and Friday I did have a conversation with Rich about some county business. And then got blown away yesterday. Although, and then K-State baseball team took 3 out of 3 from at KU. And yesterday's game was football score. It was 21-18. There was not a lot of good pitchers yesterday. I'd heard something about it on the radio that mentioned, so I turned on and watched the last couple innings, and so we scored 13 runs in the second inning. To start the game, it was a real pitcher's duel. KU used 8 pitchers in the game,
8.
trying to find somebody to make it out. I mean, we use. They didn't never say, and I tried to find a box score to see, and I couldn't find one. And that's all I got.
Okay. Pressure for.
Also leaves us a half a game out of first place in the Big 12.
Yeah, really? Yeah,
Big 12's not real good this year in baseball.
it's not like basketball. It's so even, everybody's pretty even.
And we got one, Texas is ranked maybe 12th or something. That's the highest ranked team we got.
Yeah.
Was Oklahoma State supposed to be pretty good?
Yeah, and we still got them to play, and we still got Texas Tech and TCU to play. So, and we're very backhanded on our schedule this year, but.
But 2 of them are home games.
Yeah, 2 of them
which
are
we've
home
had
games,
really
yeah.
good success.
Let's see, for me, Thursday afternoon, I met with Kyle Powers from the Haven Real Estate Group to discuss opportunity zone, potential tax credits, and other relevant items for the River Trail area out by the city of Ogden. We're both going to be doing some research on this for one of his clients who has that property in the area to see how that might fit, or maybe it doesn't fit. I don't know. Gotta do a little bit of work on that and try to get some information to see what we could potentially do there. Also Thursday afternoon, spoke with David Adams, Riley County EMS Director, to share some thoughts and ideas on the public safety headquarters, get some feedback and some updates on the project from him. Looking forward to see what's going to transpire moving forward. Hopefully it all comes with good news. We could really use some good news there. Friday morning, I had a minor procedure done at Ascension Via Christi. Went very, very well. Was up and going and moving around by Friday afternoon. So I want to thanks to everybody at the hospital who took good care of me and got me through that process pretty quick, and I don't want to say painless, but got me through the process anyway. Saturday morning, I met with the Riley County Republicans at their monthly coffee talk out at Dobro.
Dobro.
Okay.
What is that?
Yeah, they do donuts, cinnamon rolls, spear rocks, even had a breakfast spear rock. It was pretty good.
They started with a food truck
Uh-huh.
and it got so popular, they opened a place where that meat market used to be over there.
Or
I've
really,
been by it many times. I never tried.
that's pretty good.
My son says they're the best in town, so.
I didn't have a cinnamon roll. I had the breakfast beer rock, and it wasn't too bad. It was different, but good. Let's see, gave everybody an update on what's going on here with the county currently. Got a legislative update from Representative Lewis Bloom, who's up in the northern part.
Bill.
I put Lewis. Why did I put Lewis? Is his middle name Lewis?
Maybe, I don't know.
I thought that's what he went
No,
by or
maybe.
something. Anyway. Got an update from City of Manhattan from Commissioner John Mata, update from USD 383 from school board member Christine Wexelman, and then there is one school board candidate that's already filed. He was there and kind of giving his spiel on the school board. Believe it or not, those deadlines are up pretty quick.
Yeah.
In about 6 weeks here, so. And that of course is for school boards, municipalities. I think there's a couple of
City.
special benefit districts or something that's open too, I think, in regards to that as well. So good to catch up on everything. Had some pretty heated conversations on a couple of items, but it is what it is. And then I just spent most of the rest of the weekend trying to catch up on a few things and getting ready for this upcoming week, which is gonna be pretty busy. So that's all I got.
Okay. Well, Thursday after our meeting, I met with Craig Cox briefly to talk about some options for possible property up in Keats. I got a lot of materials to read, which I need to catch up on some more. I also met with Russell Stickey, talked to him about the public health headquarters and various options there. Then I went over to the church to see if everything was kind of ready to put in the oven, and wasn't quite time, so I went home for a while and walked the dog, and I went back to the church, made sure everything was cooked and in order. Then I had a meeting later after that, so I got home fairly late. Friday I heard the weather report, so I scrambled to get the yard cut. And get a lot of stuff done in the yard and in the house. Mulch I did a lot of mulch in my backyard, so I won't have to cut it. Anyway, let's see. And Saturday I went down and picked up my taxes. Had a little conversation with Roger Sink. That was interesting. I hadn't seen him for a while. I did some painting and caught up on a lot of office work in the home office. And then yesterday I went to church and then had lunch with some friends. And we did a few things, and then a friend I hadn't seen for about 2 years came and picked me up, took me to dinner. So that was kind of an interesting weekend. So that's all I've got.
Great business.
Yes.
For the highway use permit granting you for construction permission work on the road right of way to place sheet plates across Skyway Drive for heavy equipment crossing for access to MHK Airport.
Except it's Wildcat Creek Road. If the description within says Wildcat or
Now
says
they do.
it's that way, but then the other thing in the map, I wonder on Wildcat Creek Road.
It's on Wildcat right off of Skyway.
Right off the side.
Down there at the corner, southwest corner.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, so-
It comes, several rounds, it comes out.
The idea is they're hauling the dirt from the MCM lot to the airport project, and they're gonna cross there with the bigger dump truck. So steel plates, so we don't cause rutting in our road.
Oh, so the steel plates are on Skyway?
Are on, well,
They're on Wildcat, okay, because it says steel plates across Skyway Drive, so it should be Wildcat. Well, okay, thanks.
So I've not seen steel plates across the road. Is it like a bump that people have to go over or?
maybe 10-inch plates, so yeah, you have a little bit of a bump there, right at, but you'll be slowing down. Cause you're at the,
It's just off.
right at the intersection. Yeah, it won't. It won't cause a problem.
So with cars, do we need to put up some signs to warn them to slow down at that point or?
They should already be.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
There will be some signs with truck entering or crossing highways. I think they're gonna put up in what we talked about. Yeah, we'll look at it and see if we think we need other signs.
Yeah, I need to have somebody mess up their alignment or
But
something.
steel plate won't do that. Not any more darn potholes and stuff.
Yeah.
it's about that thing, but it's a heavy duty plate, it's solid.
And you just need it in like 2 locations there.
Enough where each wheel right across the highway. Well,
On there shows that they got split up signs.
They're gonna start that, what, in the first part of May, airport? I think they're closing it down May 1st.
I think they've done some work on it. They got other equipment.
Mhm. It's going to May 1st to September 8th or something. They added another week onto the project.
Okay.
Saw that in the paper. Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty standard stuff. I'll go ahead and move to approve the highway use permit granting Eber construction permission to complete the work as outlined in the permit.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the highway use permit for Eagle Construction. On the work as outlined. You permit. All in favor? Aye.
Sure, please, son.
Next, commissioners, need a motion for the tax roll corrections.
Not for sure on that first one, it might break us.
Yeah,
Which they were all that way.
No, I don't have any other questions on it. So, okay. Go ahead and make a motion to approve the tax roll corrections as listed.
I'll second.
we moved and seconded to approve the tax roll corrections as listed. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Here, please. That's Michelle. Next, Commissioner, Raleigh County Personnel Action Plan for Amanda Huff, new hire, record system 1, registered deeds office. And then Alexis Dunway, a new hire, and Whit Clerk and Health Department. All re-sign, please. You, any changes to the minutes, commissioners?
Say no, nothing then. I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the minutes as written from the April 13th meeting of the Raleigh County Commission.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes on the April 13th, 2023 minutes. All in favor?
Tentative agendas, look, commissioners. Any items for next week's press conference?
We have next city county meeting, and that's here.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing. Do we have any other items? That I'm looking forward for this?
As if that wouldn't be enough at this point
Well,
in time.
Just-
Okay, you never know, that conversation could evolve into something else too.
Is that a topic Saturday?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I heard what you said.
Oh, yeah.
Next wish you have Ann Smith at a bus at 9 o'clock. Morning, Ann.
Aye.
You gonna go to any baseball games this year, Greg?
No, in my.
My daughter said,
I'd like, I mean, I've gone to a few games, it's neat.
oh, it's a neat atmosphere.
Yeah, my daughter, one of my daughters in town said something about wanting to go sometime.
I think this weekend, they don't have. More off. I mean, like I said, just be more, which one's more.
She said some games they had like $2 hot dog night or something, you know? $2, it used to be $1.
Yeah, but $1 off is,
So what happened?
so I was in, like I said, on TV, I was working. Trim, so I was watching it, there weren't even there, but I mean, if it had been here, there would have been these people there.
Yeah,
Students, basically, like, you know, of course, I mean, it was well, and I didn't see Saturdays, but Sunday, I mean, the weather was windy. And they said that's part of the reason, they said you gotta go up from here, because that's the rest of it out,
yeah.
because there were a lot of home runs. Yeah, but there was a pretty good Kim State back, but then he struck out, or we've got to relieve it. He struck out the last guy, bottom line, there's a lot of cheer. We good fans.
Yeah, I'd like to make a good game this year.
And it used to be, they changed it at some point, it used to be. KU, K-State baseball, they had. It was there, the first Friday and Saturday would be there and Sunday would be here.
Yeah.
And the next year they switched, so that they bought some of it a couple years ago.
Yeah. I should make them call others, just all agree that way. Royals are still turning it up.
Yeah, the Braves swept them over the weekend. And it's a mess. Like I said, we're gonna get a new downtown baseball stadium, so. It'll be nice, shiny and pretty when we lose 100 games a year.
But maybe we'll get some more rain later.
Looks like next week, mid to late week, it's supposed to rain quite a bit. Oh, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday.
The freeze came just in time to be sure I don't get any apples, peaches, or
Oh,
pears.
yeah.
Last night. Like,
I don't think did it actually drop below freezing?
oh yeah, I
Oh,
had frost on my windshield and my hood of my truck this morning.
Said 33 when I woke up, so.
We are always cold throughout in our spot and where we're at. Dan Martin said years ago. Well, you know Dan Martin, but he was our public works director for decades. Early in his career, they used to have take temperature gauges throughout the county, and they'd have to report them to the state. I'd imagine he said they always had one for all the caller out there, and he said it was always the coolest place in the county. Regularly.
That's not because of who's living there too, by the
If
way.
they say 35 here, it's not uncommon for us to get well below 3. Just low enough, I guess.
They went windstorm, it's through a couple of years ago, took out couple apples and a peach, and I had to replace them. Okay, I get that. I didn't say.
What's going on back behind here?
I don't know, I saw that. I didn't wanna. First thing I thought was a leak or something. I looked up above and
I
there's
know,
that
fucking late. I said,
Blowing in.
we can blow in, that's off. Cool.
Yeah, I don't know.
Morning, Greg.
Morning, Chris, not again.
I just think,
Hello.
hey, John, did you follow big baseball week?
Mm-hmm.
You know, a few years ago, they played the series here in town. And they won the Friday night game 11-10. I thought that was marvelous. Yeah, they were amazing.
Yeah. Football score. Got a football score similar to that here recently.
Trying to make sure they're right, and then people.
Well, this one was way up to here. I got it down, but now it seems lower than this one. Which is weird. Ann, are you ready?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, commissioners. I just have a little update for you, kind of let you know how things are going over at Out of Us. So I have several things. First of all, I would tell you that ridership is continuing to recover. I think this year, we will exceed our ridership numbers for both last year and the year before. So we're not back to where we were before COVID, but we're making good progress. So that's a good thing. We've hired a few drivers, but we still do have a shortage on our drivers, and our services comparable to 2019 are still not. Saying that, though, I do want to bring to your attention our partnership with Ponce United Way. They're helping us to increase our access to our services to Albany. They are providing funding for us to provide fixed route bus passes for our K-18 connector to the Ogden Community Center. And if you live in Ogden and you go over there, you can get a fixed route bus pass. And just ride the bus, come to Manhattan, go to Junction City, wherever you need to go. And we've already seen in the first 3 months of this year, riderships improving, going up in Albany as well. We previously had a grant from the Howe Foundation, and there was a lapse there, but United Way has now agreed to fund that. So we're really excited for that partnership. As you might be aware, one of our projects that we had partnered with the city of Manhattan on, 600 points up here, is why it's getting on towards being complete. There's 2 projects. There's one in the intersection. That's a separate project the city's doing. But our project was to improve ADA accessibility and to create 2 bus pullouts and bus shelters that'll be in front of the library. And so in the coming weeks, that project will get finished, and we're really excited about that. I think it's going to be very attractive, very functional addition to our fixed route system. We also have another project up on Fremont. The city has a very large project starting up there between 12th or 14th and 12th, 11th Street along Fremont near Aggieville. Our part of that project is a very small one at the intersection of Fremont and North Manhattan. And that will get underway either late this year or early next year. But I would let you know that those are nearly, in both of those projects, that's nearly $1 million in federal transit funds that we were able to leverage to bring to our community in support of our services, but also there's an economic development impact with regard to that kind of money coming into our community. Inflation, inflation, inflation. It continues to eat us alive in terms of our expenditures. And our local funding is not keeping up with that inflation. So we are working very hard to find additional sources of local revenue. But the bottom line is, if we don't have enough local match, those are federal and state funds that we end up leaving on the table. So we are working very hard to try to find additional funds. So I know everything's tight for everybody, but we will be asking the commission to consider increase in our funding for next year. So I just kind of wanted to let you know that. And other than that, we are trying to start a small expansion project on our building up at Public Works. We're looking to expand the parking lot a bit. If you'll recall, a couple of years ago, you gave us an extension in our lease to add a little bit of space to the rear of the building. And then we're going to add 3 new offices and do some deferred maintenance also. So we're waiting right now on the engineer's estimate, and I'm just kind of like, oh goodness. Yeah. So we'll see how that comes in, so. If the construction projects, we've already been working with the city and the ones we did late last year, any indications the costs would be far in excess of what we're looking for. So we'll see. But that was all I had for you. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to entertain any. Okay, all righty. Thank you all very much. Have a great week.
Thanks, Dan. Have a good day. Next commissioner, you have David Adams, 9:15. Speaking of the devil.
Hey, early.
Here a few minutes ago, I was outside talking to John.
You have plenty of time, 8 minutes. A good year as far as budget presentations.
Ron's letter, here's letter, what I've done once. Yeah, that's all. Public. I have thoughts, but not. I haven't reported.
And we're able to sell that, say, okay. Just set that up.
Very.
Yeah. Be interesting.
I've looked through the Walpole minutes, the presentation, from these things, yeah. That's gonna be that. Online. I didn't know if they're allowed to have their own thoughts.
Same person. Fishing or golfing?
Neither, you know,
I'm sorry, yeah, either they're coming up.
another one this week.
Unfortunate fact of life.
Yes. One this week will be fourth one this year.
Same.
Yep. The crappie starting to bite yet?
They're deep.
Are they still?
Guy stopped in the office on Friday. He was saying his kids, they live out that way, they can go like and cast as far as they can and fish it 20 foot deep, and they're catching a small crappie.
Well.
Not with any side, a slip bobber, you know,
Mhm.
something about 30 when it's deep.
Really? They're not spawning quite yet.
No,
Well, this weather,
generally just after the first May, but one can get,
Warm and cold.
I know.
Yeah.
No, winter and summer.
Today's the furnace or air conditioning.
correct.
Mid and upper 80s next 2 days after today, and then the 60s to 50 again Friday and Saturday, I think, Saturday and Sundays. Which I'm okay with on the weekends, working outside. Anyway, so
Yeah. It kills
better
my,
outside weather.
kills my allergies. My nose just runs just constantly.
Yeah, my allergies are year round.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
This year it's been really bad.
Mhm. I think it's just as I'm getting older, it's just becoming more of a fact of life.
It's a lot of things. Okay.
Good morning, Commissioners. David Adams, CMS Ambulance Director with my monthly updates. Starting off, calls for service, 466 in March, which was up 80 over March of last year. So
That's good effort.
it is. And, you know, it's just the way it is now, you know, here in 2 years, 3 years, we're gonna be saying, you know, 500 is the way of the norm. You know, it's just the way it's going. But The crews do a really good job. I mean, they're busy and, I hear them throughout the day, you know, they're moving around and helping each other out and such. And when we're down to, only one ambulance available, it's almost always the airport that's available. So they automatically come in to town to cover and they do a good job of that. But, I'm noticing that more and more. So which is reflective of the call volume. So we had 10 calls in North County. So which is a little down from typical, but I think the biggest call volume in North County is Leonardville Nursing Home. So I mean, that's where the one location that has the most and so I can just by listening to see, you know, if we're looking at my phone, you know, if they're good nursing home or not and such, but that's a big driver up there, so. But it's good that they're staying healthy, so. Really no change from the typical area response numbers. Station 1, the headquarters at 170, 11 points, 143. The public works 75. The airport 59, and then we had 8 ALS first responses in Leonardville. So the rest of the calls are event standbys. We've had quite a few event standbys, soccer season now, and it's track and field at K-State. So those are what mainly our events are. We've had a couple private groups reach out to us and request, and they are willing to pay our bill, you know, to have an event standby. Like there was a concrete canoe race that one of the engineering with K-State had on this weekend.
And you were right.
Yeah, engineers.
Oh, they've been doing that for a long time.
Oh, really?
Decades.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I have not talked to the crew to find out how that went or such, but yeah, it was interesting. So obviously new building construction related topics are a big part of my days. So we're moving forward and moving back, moving forward, moving back. So you know, I really don't have anything to bring to you. Hopefully we will in a couple of weeks when we get some things finalized from PHS. They're working on some updated numbers and some different options with the headquarters as well as with emergency management, rural fire. So we'll once we have something tangible, I'll bring it to you. I will say when it comes to the North County station, we're trying to get a meeting set up with Anderson Knights, Schultz Construction, and then county staff. But I think I'm gonna have to reach out to them and say, we need some more data options. You know, one of the data options was a Thursday morning. Obviously, that's not gonna work. So I'll reach out to them today and say, we need some more. We're gonna ask them to be a little bit more flexible with us with some of their time. So we can get a pre-build meeting set up with them and get moving on that. So but the notice to proceed did go out last week. So the clock, you know, as they say, is ticking for that construction project. So, but we'll get a pre-build set up and we'll get working on that in earnest. So both of the expeditions that we ordered 2 years ago are finally here and online. So that's good news. Federal cost reporting, Josh is still compiling the data. There's, I believe there's 13 different categories. And I think he's on like category 8 or 9 right now. So he's working through it. I had him send me kind of an update on his sheets. And it's the federal government that's confusing. So it's not the best way I can say it, you know, but he's doing a good job. He's working through it and it's just like, oh my goodness. So we just concluded our hiring process for some PRN to help with our staffing as well as identify potential employees for North County Station. And with some opening that we have now, and then we have some more coming, some staff openings. So working on that, that'll be in front of you. I'm hoping on Thursday. So it'll be 10 position forms for you. So but I appreciate HR and Marla, who's their intern, kind of heads up that and does a good job at that. So But that's a pretty big group coming through. We'll do them in a couple different phases. We can't do 10 people all at once. But we'll do a couple phases, and then we have we identified another 3 or 4 as kind of a waiting list for us. That we'll meet. Some of them we've already let them know that they've passed, but just not this time. And such. So we've built up a little bit of a reserve, if you will. So hopefully my plan is going to come to fruition. You know, there's a long time between now and when that station opens up, that's, as we've talked about, that's kind of what we're doing, and so far so good. So had one meeting with the EMS compliance billing program company, and I'll have another one here coming up. So I'll be able to do that within our budget. So making some changes for, it was interesting. I learned a lot, and I can understand why people are now getting on board with this as some of the rulings have come down from the federal government. So it opened up my eyes, and he said, you know, you're certainly not the first one in the country that said, had no idea. So same thing, really haven't started too very far to hit the safety compliance program because they're still building that. You know, as I said last month, they had a service in Georgia that was fined because they had a tablet fall and picked up by the public, and even though they had done everything right, they were still fined. So now companies are trying to figure out, okay, how do we navigate this and how do we build this? So working on the budget for 2024. So we're close. I think we had made some adjustments this year, anticipating Station 3 or Station 5 up in Leonardville being open. So I don't see, when it comes to our 3 Cs, it's will probably be a little bit of a reduction. So, but I've gone through the numbers a couple times, and so, but I'll be ready when Daryl says to jump. So the state report writing software, met with Alex and Josh last week. We kind of went through it, and you know, my direction to them was let's get it out, put it out, and at our state board meeting last month, that's kind of what the direction we gave the state staff was. You got to make a stop here at some point, quit changing it. Let's get this pushed out, and then we can make changes once you get everybody on board. But they keep doing it the way they're going to do it. This thing's never going to get pushed out because they keep stopping. So I renewed our state license this last month. So and we're prepping for our state inspection, our annual inspection. So they have to give us 24 hours notice by state statute. That's all they have to give us. And that's only done because it's pretty hard on the department if your director isn't there. So they have to give 24-hour notice sometime between January 1 and the end of the year. So, but we're working on that. We'll be ready. So as we typically are. So I had a good meeting. You know, we're evaluating, as I've said before, kind of our supplies and what we carry, and I think we carry too much. As over time, departments kind of start to accumulate. Well, maybe we need to carry this, we need to carry that, or things like that. So we're evaluating that and such. But I think it's good practice to evaluate what you're doing and what you have, and do you have enough of a certain equipment? Do you have too much of other equipment, and make some adjustments. So, but I'm not rushing that because the data tells you, and then your gut tells you. So I'm trying to weigh both of those. Sometimes my gut makes some of our staff a little uncomfortable. But we're making good progress. Following legislative items related to EMS. So Medicaid payment increase last year, the state went to 85% of the Medicare rural payments. This year, the House and the Senate, State House and Senate both came to 100%. So we'll see if that survives the governor's budget. We think it will, but we'll see, because that helps every service in the state of Kansas. So and then Been working with Fort Riley and Via Christi Manhattan, with the airport closing. They do have fixed wing airplanes that come in to take patients out. So Fort Riley has been very easy and good to work with to allow us to use Marshall Army Airfield for some of those. But there's processes in place that have to go into account there and to make that happen. So I appreciate the work on that. We'll be ready when the time comes. So. Education, 100% review of all calls, met with our medical director, had some good dialogue with him. So some of the things that are going on nationally, and they don't really affect us, but it's always good to have those conversations. And then the new hire academy. So as we bring in these new hires, they'll spend 5 days with Alex and Josh and with several of our team. They'll do driver training. They'll learn how to write reports our way. They learn how to do the equipment that we carry and things like that. So it's 5 days before they ever get to be a third person on an ambulance with us. So, so they're working hard on that. I think the first day is this Friday. So, car seat check lanes. We've sometimes we get people who, like we have had some individuals who came in on Tuesday, which is our day, the second Tuesday of the month, and that they needed 5 car seats, and we typically give them for a grant 1 to a family. So working with them, I think Josh is going to reach out to the Greater Manhattan Community Foundation, which funds the car seats, to say, hey, can we, make some exceptions to this if they have some extra money for us. So, and then CERT training that is put on by emergency management, and there's a component of that for EMS. So I came in on a Saturday, a couple Saturdays ago. We did a 4-hour CERT training on EMS for them. I had a blast. I thought usually Josh gets to do these, but I did it. I had a lot of fun with it. Had really good dialogue with these volunteers from the community. So, but that was good. I learned a lot. So, any questions about that?
Is the closing of the airport going to affect that ambulance station out there in any way?
No. The only time they go on the backside onto the airport is for a patient or something come up of an airplane or for one of these transfers. Okay. Yeah, but no, it won't affect it at all.
Okay, good.
Breakdown of call volume, days of the week. Really nothing that stood out. I mean, Wednesday's the busiest day, not unusual. And then Friday and Saturday keep us busy as well. And then broke down by the hour. So I told them, our captain said today, said, look, between 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning, you're getting good sleep. So they don't always appreciate my humor.
No, I bet not.
And then the breakdown here, medic 22, somebody fat fingered that should have been medic either 21 or 12. I'm not sure which. We haven't figured that one out yet, but we're looking into that because we don't have a medic 22. But I would say somebody fat fingered it, somebody didn't catch it. So, but we'll get that cleaned up. Do you have any questions for me?
Really good, thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks, David. Thanks, commissioners. There are no press conferences. I'm just going to break before we fill Kansas.
You today's would be boring,
That's-
hold on, we go for a boring day.
I don't know if it makes my days longer or shorter.
I haven't figured that one out.
I don't know, but there are some days when like, really? I'm ready for bed.
I'm looking at it, go, we're halfway through April already? What's that happened?
Yes, man.
Yes.
Slide.
Oh, man. Well, have a good day.
Yes, sir.
Everybody deserted me, I guess.
I guess so.
So how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Good. This gives me a good chance to ask you, our gala is Thursday night. Are you planning to come?
I think I put it in my schedule and I haven't RSVP'd, I don't think.
That's why I was going to take your RSVP.
Okay, that's up at Liquid Art, right?
Yes, it sure is. Just you?
Yeah,
Okay.
unless you accept dogs, I have a dog.
Well, we do have plus ones, but,
That's not, well, it's plus one to me, but one
All
or
right.
two, but
that's,
no.
that's great. I'll put you down.
Okay.
We're finalizing our, table assignments tomorrow afternoon, so I've got to be sure it ends.
Yeah, I put it down last week and I forgot to, I was looking at that today, and going, what?
That's why I asked. Yeah, well, I think we're expecting about 170.
Really?
Yeah, pretty excited.
I'm in there.
Good.
Good weekend.
We're gonna do it in mine, so I'm okay.
Oh,
Kept both our grandkids. Under two.
good. Keep you on your toes.
Yeah, they say, sometimes they say that it keeps you young, but I don't know.
Nope, now you understand why you have kids when you're younger, huh?
Yeah, exactly. I've been saying that ever since the first movie was born. I don't understand why I had kids in my twenties, early twenties.
And you look back on it, you wonder how you survived sometimes.
I think grandkids are the reward for surviving children, especially the teenage years. That's what I think grandkids are.
That's the worst.
Yeah.
We just not have them from like 12 to 18.
Although, well, I should complain,
Something like that.
my son, I say he disappeared into his room at about age 13 and didn't emerge until he was like 17. And then he was really kind of cool. And then he looked down, he said, just got kind of fun. He laughed.
Our teenage years, and yeah, you probably look bad, but it was the first 2 years when we had 3 under 2.
Oh, yeah. Oh, goodness.
Yeah. Yikes.
Yeah, you had twins and then,
And my son was 20 months older than the twins.
well,
I don't know how my parents did it. They had my oldest brother. And then 18 months later, they had my sister, and then 18 months later, they had twins. I was several years after that, so. I was a surprise, so.
You were what we named Morgan.
There you
5
go.
year surprise. I was surprised she's named Morgan. And getting married this June.
Well, congrats, that's awesome. You worked great.
Thanks.
Ready for Lori. Let me see what's right here. Soon as Fred gets here, we'll
Oh, sure. I was gonna
get spread out.
give you guys some info.
It was David's fault, like.
Was it Dave? Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
At least you have someone to mind. There you go.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Morgan.
All ready to go? Awesome. Okay, well, just a few minutes of your time. I had forwarded a letter to Rich for you all to take a look at. Big Lakes is in the process of applying for the Kansas Department of Commerce Community Service Tax Credit Program to help us with fundraising for our Raise the Roof Capital Improvement Project. I gave you some information there, just a kind of summation of the 5 phases of the project. The first, of course, is the replacement of our roof at our main facility on Hayes Drive, 45,000 square feet roof that's 43 years old. And as I like to kid, but I'm kind of being serious, the 43 leaks that are in that roof at the present time. Very excited to get that done. Schultz Construction won the bid on doing the work. We actually took delivery on the roofing materials here 2 weeks ago, and I have a meeting scheduled with them this week to schedule when we're going to get things started and how we're going to do this safely while we continue to provide services within the buildings. So that's going to be kind of interesting. The second phase, I think, is the one I'm most excited about, and that's solar panels. We are going to be installing solar panels on the new roof to help replace electrical power for the building. The estimates we've got for the solar panel company is King Solar out of Yoder is going to be doing the work. We're looking at the installation of it in November, and we'll get 40% in tax credits from that particular project from the federal government. And it will replace about 69% of our power needs there. So, when we spend anywhere from $60,000 to $65,000 a year on electricity, that's some significant savings for us. And the warranty on the work is 25 years. So this will be a nice long-term project with some significant savings for us. Then we have our interior finishes. We have not remodeled into the inside of that building in 26 years since we moved in. So, it needs some updating. Carpet, wallpaper, starting, things like that. The fourth phase is our HVAC systems. We have 3 huge units back behind that were on the original building that are getting pretty old. Will have to be replaced at some point in time, out of warranty. And then we have numerous other smaller units that were added on with the additions that we did to the building over the years. And again, all that adds up to a lot of money. And then the last phase is concrete. The parking lot is pretty much original from 40 years ago, 50 years ago. Yeah. So we'll be looking at replacing the concrete and the parking lot, also some sidewalks and things like that. And that's expensive too. So it's a $2 million project. We are doing this all through private fundraising and grants. At the present time, we launched the fundraising program the end of December with our annual giving campaign. We also secured our first major league gift from the Butler Family Foundation. We're at 19% right now with our fundraising, over a year and a half to go. So got a good start. The tax credit program that I'm talking about is through the state of Kansas, and it helps us to boost our individual giving as far as soliciting donations from individuals. By giving money towards this project, that if we become eligible for the tax credit, it would allow us to give a 50% tax credit back to individual donors. So if you contributed $1,000 to the program,
you could apply this tax credit 50% with your tax return at the end of the year and get $500 back. So your cost would only be $500, yet we would get $1,000 towards the program. So it's a really nice program. The application process, which is what I'm going through right now, is pretty lengthy, but I'm going to get there. There are two very important aspects of it. They work on a point system for determining if you are eligible. The last statistics I saw is that they generally get anywhere from 50 to 60 applications a year for this program, and they approve about half of them. So it is a competitive process. The two significant things that are challenging is that you have to get letters of community support and letters of financial support. What I'm looking for from the county is to get a letter of community support, that you support Big Lakes, you believe in the project, you believe that it's essential to what we do as far as our organization is concerned. I've asked all of our counties to do this, that we provide services in. I also, and I've already got one back from Clay. I think Potawatomi is considering theirs this morning, and Gary is as well. So I already have letters of support back from all of our area legislators, which I'm really pleased to get. I think I've got overall 18 letters so far. Of course, I'm getting them from parents and some of the people we serve as well. So my request to you is if you would sign off on a letter of support for Big Lakes for this project.
On the tax credits, say a person donates $1,000, so they get the $1,000 for donating to the nonprofit plus $500.
We get the $1,000,
Yeah.
they get $500 back with their tax, when they file their taxes at the end of the year, like right today.
Today, yeah.
Exactly. So it's probably with their tax return as far, that's how I understand it. What I'm anticipating is this will really help us at the end of the year when people are looking for tax breaks and so forth, and they're also wanting to support our program. We will also, our annual giving campaign at the end of this year will be for this project. So again, I think it's just another one of those things that helps to solicit donations. They see it as kind of a match, when you think about it.
Yeah, basically, what I said, really double what you
What you would normally get. Yeah. If you would normally think about giving 1,000, maybe you would get 2,000, and with the insurance, you would get $1,000 back. I mean, I think that'd be awesome. So.
I can go ahead then and make a motion to approve the letter of support for an application for community service tax credits for Big Lakes Development Center, Inc.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been seconded to approve the letter of support for the Big Lakes Development Center tax credit program. All in favor? Aye.
Resign, please.
And wish me luck.
Yes.
Yes,
Good luck.
yeah, absolutely.
So, the community support letters have actually been pretty easy. It's the financial ones that are hard. It's just harder to sign your name when you see an amount there. But, seriously, they, the program, I can apply up to $200,000. I want to apply for the maximum. So you have to have letters that add up to that amount. So, yeah, I'm working on that. Oh, and Greg, our 50th anniversary gala is Thursday. Are you planning to attend?
Thursday, I'm not even thinking
Okay.
Thursday.
We're working on our table arrangements. I just wanted to make sure to plan on you if you're planning to be there. And I know you're planning to be there.
Yes.
And so, so awesome. We have Coach Kleiman is speaking.
That's right.
So
Yeah,
we're excited
said
about
something
that.
about that.
Yeah, he and his wife Rhonda came out and toured Big Lakes a couple of weeks ago, and that was great.
Yeah.
I'm speaking in person. That's cool.
All right.
Good luck.
Thank you for your support. Really appreciate it, and I'll be coming to see you again soon. Bye bye.
Yeah.
See you Thursday.
And Thursday, yeah.
Next commissioner, we have Amanda Levitt, 9. Oh, we're past your time.
I'm you.
We're ready. All righty. Good morning, commissioners. Amanda Webb, Planning Director. Also have Darren Hobbs, our Planning Compliance Specialist here with us. We are here just to follow up on some of the conversation we had with Mr. and Mrs. Britt, who were here a few weeks ago. They had some concerns about floodplain development, their permits, cities permits, et cetera. We did let them know about our time here today, and we did actually give them the information that you have in your packet here. I know they're not here, but we're just gonna go ahead, if it works for you folks, we're just gonna go ahead and present the information that we have there. So Darren will run through all of that stuff, and if you have any questions.
Right now.
Oh, good, okay, perfect. Just in time. Okay, good, excellent. So again, we just have the information that they were looking for attached to the packet, we'll just run through that.
So the first thing here is just kind of the overview of what the levy project consists of. If you aren't aware of what they're doing and where it entailed. This is just a diagram of basically what it entails, where they have to increase the toe of the levee, and then they're adding, so basically raise the levee and also strengthen it by what they're doing on either the land side or river side of the levee on the raise. And then this was one of the in question whether they received their notarized certificate. So this was a letter from the court to the city authorizing the work to be done, completed by 2024, and stating that it wouldn't affect the notarize or wouldn't. Yeah. So there's their approval of application. And here's the report that was issued by the court, and it says that it would not increase the base flood elevation of the project. These are different points in the report where they would be doing some of that work. And here's the borrow bit that was in question that the county has issued a conditional use for. Here's where they mentioned they'll on average will raise the average height 4.5 feet. And that be about 1,200 linear feet of levee. Be working, and the existing levee toe is planned to be extended riverside by 5 feet. So some of the dirt piles that were in question, that was what that was used for, was to take to those places to be able to raise or to extend the toe with the dirt that they're taking from the borrow pit. Approximately 28 acres are planned to be excavated 6 foot deep in the borrow pit area to get the material that they need to do the project with. Another picture, showing what it would look like afterwards. This would be the original levy versus when they add everything. And then again, here, this is before, after the research, conclusion saying that it wouldn't increase the basement elevation. It following these plans. So here, this is in our new 2023 aerials that we got. These were the piles in question. As you can see, this is where they started excavating, so they were scraping these piles to make these piles. When I went out there with city, these are pictures that I took, so you can see that they're excavating to get the dirt. So the report said that they were supposed to do a 6 foot deep. So there's just pictures showing that that's what they're doing. See where they've taken a lot of material out to use on the levee project. This picture I took in, kind of zoomed in a little bit on that. They have cleared these trees out. When Mr. Britt showed pictures of trees and stuff. This is where they cleared trees out, and that they will be making a pathway for water to flow to the Kansas River. So they'll have a nice clear path here. And also, so there's 2 of them where they'll be making for the water to escape to the Kansas River, not have to go through the trees and stuff when they're done. They've been using an incinerator to burn the trees. And I did not see any tree piles there, so they've been taking care of getting rid of the tree waste. So also, I've been working with the city here. You see this little dot right here. This is on Temple Lane. The structure has been built there. City's aware of it. They're going through their process that will be removed. After going down and viewing it with them, so that was in floodway, and they're in the process of getting that taken down.
So the city had never noticed that structure before.
I don't know if they've never noticed it before. From my conversations, I think they thought it was a homeless shelter situation where that was built. And after Bill Heatherman and I walked back there, we realized that that's not the case, and so they're going to take action to get rid of that.
So what was it being used for? It looks like there's a lot of vents coming out of it.
It just looks like they were using it just for a place to go. have a fire, I mean, there's a trampoline and other stuff down there that's gonna be taken care of. So, yeah,
They don't know who was using it or who put it up or anything?
he didn't tell me who or whatever. I don't even know if they know for sure, but, since it's on city property and we went back and viewed it, it'll be taken care of when they're going through the process to get it removed off their property.
A little hard to guess.
Well, I mean, you can see it from aerials. But it's totally, you can't see it from Temple Lane or. Especially when leaves get on the trees, it's hard to protect.
It's a good thing we didn't catch some trees on fire back then.
Yeah.
You know, that's really a hazard.
But, yeah. So that should be taken care of here soon. This is just conversations that we have had Brits in the past on different questions. Off to the side was the answers that were given. Mr. Higgins is here. All I have unless you have some more questions.
So you're satisfied with this takes care of the problem?
I mean, yeah, they've gotten the correct permits that they have and they've been following protocol to remove trees and the dirt pile was just part of the process to move material from the borrow pit to where they needed it on the levee project. And or I mean, the Corps knew that they were gonna go 6 foot deep. And that was just part of the process for the dirt piles. It's not that dirt was moved in, it was just part of the process of getting them to the parts of the levee that needed to be detailed, expanded.
Comments? Questions? Are you? Dressed or you know,
I disagree. I mean, he's literally shown you.
You want to come to the
Most of it.
yeah.
So, right, I'm gonna address the house thing first. So if you look at number 8, I brought this to the county. At the very last page, number 8. I wanted a no rise certificate and the building permit for the structure on the city of Manhattan property. I was brought to the city of Manhattan back then.
When was it?
That email was dated April 16th, 2021. And that went to everybody at the county, including the lawyer and Steve Higgins. And from there, he had said at one point in time, your lawyer, Mr. Cox, had said that they had already taken it to the city and they were going to address it. So this is where I'm saying is it's now being addressed. All right, I think the county should have the city, we should be saying that they're going to address it. I wouldn't mind seeing a violation being sent to the city as they did me. I'm going to go back to when I was in violation. I was moving dirt for 2 hours and I had a cease and desist order put on me immediately. So I'm going to deal with that. I'll talk about 8 and then I'm going to go ahead and scroll up and kind of show where the city has done their no rise. I've only seen part of this paperwork. I think this amount. And nowhere in here have I seen a no rise for the borrow pit. And if you, sweetheart, can you help me again on this? I'm sorry, I'm not great on computers. So if we zoom out. So all the rock in this picture. If you're going to follow the rules of a no-rise, it needs a no-rise certificate for this, not for the levee, for the borrow pit. All right, all these big piles of dirt, yes, are part of excavation. I will give them that. I don't have issues with those. But if you scroll up a little bit farther. It is hard to see, but I will. Okay, so right where my mouse, the arrow is, that's 6 foot of rise above the soil that they're excavating. All along there, right there, that's 6 foot of rise above the regular soil surface. I see in this picture, and I don't know when these pictures were taken, but right here to the right where my arrow is, it looks like they've removed that levee. And it looks like there's fresh machine tracks where they have just been in there and taken that out since I've complained. This picture, I can't, can you zoom that one? Try right there. Okay. This picture right here, they have a 6 foot levee built across that whole entire borrow pit. That's not for taking the soil out, that's to prevent water from entering their borrow pit anytime it rains. All right, that needs a no-rise certificate to do that. If they just would have went down, they wouldn't have had any issue. 27 acres of digging is not the issue. It's putting a huge levee all around their whole entire area. Right, I just wanted to fill up a little bitty low spot on my field where water had eroded it. And within 2 hours, Mr. Higgins shut me down from doing it. Can't move any dirt and put it above that soil level, even though it had been eroded. Now, we have went through and done stuff with the county since, and we're about to finish up with that. But according to the county, I need a no-rise certificate for this. In order to uproot trees and take the root system with them, they need a no-rise certificate to do this. And the city does not have a no-rise certificate in any of the paperwork I saw. Now, there's paperwork for no-rises on the levee part, but not on the rest of this. And that's where I'm saying is yes, they've given you a no-rise for part of it, but nothing for this borrow pit. In which, I mean, the amount of dirt I moved was 2 hours with 2 dump trucks. And I think there was 65,000 truckloads of dirt brought out of here when we did the math back in the day. And I farmed this ground. I farmed inside that L. I've watched it. I've kind of let the county slide and say, you know, they're going to come down and complain about this. They're going to complain. One of their things, one of their levees flooded one of my fields, and I just looked the other way. But I kind of getting frustrated because now I'm paying my lawyer fees, my $20,000 to get everything right for me, and the city is just walking right on by. And I brought it to their attention, and it's just not. That's why I brought it to your attention. So, do you have any questions? I'll happily answer. I know it went fast. And if you all remember, there were 3 things I brought it to attention. There was another project that was west of Wildcat Creek that they had done. The city had done a couple of years ago. And I asked for a no-rise certificate from there, and I didn't see a no-rise from it either.
Okay.
So.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Can you answer some of those issues here, or are we? Do we
Yeah.
that?
So if you go back to this report that I put in here. The borrow pit is included in this whole report. The Corps took the borrow pit into consideration in this report. And here in their conclusion, where it says that, you know, if this whole, if it is followed, that there would be a no rise, or there would be. That's why they granted the no rise, that it wouldn't. So right here, here's the borrow pit is within this report. And it's included in this no rise. Stated here in number 2.
It's on page 46. So you're convinced in your department that everything is in compliance. You've been out there and
I mean, yeah, I mean, the borrow pit is part of the levy project. And it's included in this report. Stating that, you know, that's where they're taking the dirt from for the levy project. And that, yeah, it's part of the borrow pit is part of the no rise. That the board granted to the city. And then when I was out there, there's no berms anymore because that dirt's been hauled off. So it was all flat. Dirt. I was, when I took all my pictures, I was standing right here. And that was flat surface with this area here. And then all this had been excavated, taking dirt out of there. And they will continue to probably take more dirt out as the project goes on.
will they replace that dirt?
No.
No. What will they replace?
Just as, so since I had to walk back to that structure. That was the original borrow pit for when they built the levee back in the 1950s, whatever. And you can tell where it's low, where they took stuff out and then they just let it go back to the natural, you know, whatever grass and trees grow there. So it's kind of interesting just walking back there and kind of learning the history of what had happened before and what's happening now, and how that will proceed.
Well, I think one thing we need to give the city a date on when we want that building removed.
Okay, I get
Give them a date, so get this out of there by a certain time, since it's been going on since 21.
I can stay in touch with them and see where they're at in the process throughout it, but I mean, I'd also like to say that I wasn't part of that process before, and I'd like to say, you know, I'm glad I could get the ball moving. And get things taken care of this go around.
Okay, well, Bruce, Mr. and Mrs. Britt, are you comfortable with this? Can we come to a resolution here?
Close, so. Very clearly on this, the borrow pit, when we're talking about that, that was when they were expecting to take dirt out. Building of the levee around the borrow pit is the problem. All right, if the levee around the borrow pit is taken out, all that level put back to the farm level it was, I would be happy with that. But they still need to get a permit to put rock and fill material into this. They still have to get a no rise for it. The no rise is taking the dirt out, so it's. I understand they're planning on going 6 foot down here, but they went 6 foot up next to it. And that was not, there was nowhere in the plans that 6 foot levee around it was to be put in. When we, when I was here, and I'm gonna be wrong on the date, a year and a half ago or so, when they applied for this, there was no talking of building a levee. So when they applied here at this office, there was no talk of building a levee. And when they got permission, they, in my opinion, if the county's going to be, I'm sorry, I went the wrong way. You see down where my arrow is, there's a rock material. In order to put all that rock material in here to drain this, there should have to be a no rise. I think you could check with your lawyer. And I think it's written in the statute, it's pretty darn clear that if you're going to start building structures in the floodway, they have to have a no rise certificate. And I do not see any no rise built on that. Nothing in all of that reading.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so again, I will state that, the no rise for the borrow pit is part of this documentation, that it's part of the project. Also, the areas that Mr. Bridges pointed out. Again, those will be drainage to the Kansas River. I don't think they're completed with those yet. And they are not making a levee around here. The only reason why the dirt was there was to be hauled off. And they are not going to be filling this back in with anything and bringing material back. It will just go back to its natural state as it is, 6 foot deep, and they will make drainage to the Kansas River. Is my understanding of after reading through all the documentation of how that's going to work.
Okay, well, we need to get moving on with our agenda, but I'd like to, Craig, can you follow up on this and find out, make sure that the city's doing what they're supposed to do on this, especially rocks, that type of thing. And let us know what's happening. Is that okay with you too? I'll do that. Any other suggestions?
I don't have it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Cameron, are you ready?
I'm ready. I don't know. Computer is.
I know. It's,
You went all the way back up to the top.
oh, I think,
Yeah, it can be, you know, what is
there
it?
it is.
You moved up.
Yeah. In fact, there.
You're in that.
Mm.
Okay.
First item I'll cover is the home rule resolution, for requesting something in writing and responding to the pending request from the city of Manhattan to the law enforcement, to the law board, to take on the animal control officers as personnel of our CPD. That's what's been discussed here most recently. It's one of the items. It's generated a lot of public discussion between at least staff and the two governing bodies and the elected boards as well. The point of this home rule resolution is simply to notify, it's not to take action other than to notify the law board that the commission opposes the pending request, and it gives the reasons for that objection. The first one, Roman numeral rather than a whereas, is the section.
Yeah, that's different.
Those appointments, that was requested by a member. So it's fine.
Whereas,
It was full whereas.
I don't know. I was a little concerned there might be objection to Roman numerals. It's okay.
I like it better. We need to remember this.
You'll get tired of it after a while. See enough of them. The first Roman numeral, the first reason that the commission, this board requests the law board not make those appointments. Because in the structure, it's the law board that, the law board that actually appoints these positions or approves their appointment. For staff of RCPD. Obviously, one of the easiest things to say is that if those appointments take place, then Riley County immediately becomes responsible for 20% of the cost of their employment. Second number is the second Roman numeral is that those appointments would make Riley County solely responsible for the costs of maintaining or replacing the currently city of Manhattan and the animal shelter. Because then it would be an RCPD facility. If that function is being done by animal control officers at RCPD, I don't see how anyone gets around it that becomes something that the law board could later on down the road. I'm not saying they would do this immediately. Some future law board could take the position, well, the animal shelter needs really to be rehabbed and so expensive, we really need a new building. They would have the ability to require the county to put that building in place. In my opinion, there's no way to contract away that responsibility. Even so, you can't by agreement say that some other entity like the city would continue to maintain it. And I accept, they say, I'm told by staff from the city that they have no intention of turning over that building. Well, first of all, it's in Potawatomi County. Secondly, I'm not saying that has to happen immediately. I'm concerned about what happens downrange. And it's too late to unwind the fact that those animal control officers aren't there. They're performing an RCPD function, or they wouldn't be over there. They're under the direct supervision of the RCPD directive. To me, that means, in the language of the statute, that the law board would have complete legal authority to require the county to provide a facility. Just as you did when you built the firing range, and just as you've done when you built the jail. Those things are county responsibilities by statute. Number three, and these following ones are where requires an analysis of the statutory scheme. My opinion is that the primary consolidated law enforcement mission of RCPD is exactly what's said in the statute. Provide for the protection of persons and property and promote the general welfare of the citizens of the state of Kansas through efficient law enforcement and police protection. Now, RCPD officers, even now and historically, they've assisted with animal control issues, but that's not the primary mission of the department. Instead, and that is a type of law enforcement, but it's a very small portion of their overall responsibilities. It doesn't mean it is still important. It's important that they assist, but they're not animal control officers. That's not what most of the staff there at RCPD is. Now, you also have plug this in, and I want to jump down to the. I didn't put it in the home rule resolution, but there's statutory authority. Obviously, there are both sworn and unsworn personnel there at RCPD, as you know, and those personnel are appointed by the law board. But what's their function? The function of those support personnel is to support law enforcement and protection of the community. That's what they're there to do. They're not synonymous with animal control officers. They're a specified job function. And for that reason, I think it's another ground for that I think the law board should resist the temptation to blur what the mission of RCPD is going to be in the future. Also have the fact that there's a statutory scheme in the Pet Animal Act. I never call it the right thing, because seems it's an odd title because it involves things like regulation of feedlots, that kind of thing, but it also does involve animal animal control issues. They're in there too for pets and that kind of thing. And that scheme is totally separate from the consolidated law enforcement statutes that govern the operation and management of the law and RCPD. And that's the only place in that Pet Animal Act where animal control officer is defined. It's not defined anywhere else by statute. So that suggests that those functions are to be carried out by animal control officers in line with the Pet Animal Act and the various functions that are in there, the regulation of kennels and that kind of thing. But those are the primary points of this. And I just wanted to make sure you had a chance to see it before the law board meeting today. I'll bring some copies of this, the unsigned version of this with me. Just as the dialogue goes on, I think there's going to be a pretty robust discussion today about this possibility. Just have to see. But I'd be glad to answer any questions about the resolution. And certainly if you find something in there you want to change, I can certainly change it before the law board meeting.
Can I continue? On number 4, it says must be law enforcement must be provided throughout Raleigh County, including the unincorporated areas and small cities. And then it says not limited to the city of Manhattan. What does that mean? Not limited to the city?
Well, it means that if this happens, those officers are going to have to be, and I think RCPD's material suggests that's what they can do. They would exercise jurisdiction outside the city of Manhattan. The reason that's important is because there has been some discussion between the governing bodies and somewhat that there was a period of time where we were told that and those services were not being provided for a period of time in the unincorporated area. Now, city management has responded to that and said that that's not true, and it's provided some documents based on all records, I believe, is what they described. That in their view shows that there has never been this gap of service in the unincorporated area.
They're the ones that told us it wasn't.
But a call isn't the same thing as the providing of services either. Simply somebody could call and say, I've got this issue, and they could say, well, it's outside of our scope and not respond. So there's still two different things involved in that equation.
And obviously it's something to be discussed further. The point was that if this happens, one of the things that's got the government is it has to be provided in the unincorporated area. And then you really are doing you're blurring how RCPD itself works. If you have certain personnel that are only going to operate within the city of Manhattan, and I'm not saying that's the plan. It's more linked to the idea of was there a period of time when there were no services being provided?
That's what it's referring to. We don't have the phrase in here that says Raleigh County services only to Raleigh County. Any other county. We don't
I'm
have
sorry.
that. You didn't have that in there, the statute that says that the RCPD services go to
Right,
Riley County citizens.
right. There's a provision in those multiple statutes on consolidated law enforcement that has a line that talks about them being provided.
So you don't think that's necessary to put in this document?
Not in here.
Not in here.
There's plenty of things that are going to be discussed that aren't in this.
Yeah.
This was just designed to hit a few items and let them know that the basis for the board's objection to the law enforcement agency, the law board. I get in the statutes, I start calling it what it really is. It's the law enforcement agency. Nobody calls it that. It's the law board. I can see that, but that's the point of this. Is this document is simply to make it clear that the board is taking a public position that they shouldn't happen, and why.
I will say that there's a few spelling errors throughout.
I can go correct those, but I think it's. And I corrected what I was able to find. There's one at the beginning when the board is misspelled.
Yes.
No, that's been corrected in what you've got to sign.
Okay,
Yeah, on the first page.
okay.
If there's others,
No, I think that was the one I saw.
Now, this will go to the meeting today.
I'm gonna have it with me.
You're gonna go
This has
to
been
that meeting.
obviously been in the packet. Yeah. Craig will be there too.
You have a motion on this? Any more discussion? Question.
I don't think it's necessary at this point in time. Say the least bit. You want to go ahead and make a motion then that we approve the resolution as submitted in its current form.
Now, second,
So moved and accepted and seconded to approve the resolution as presented. All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Well, sign, please.
Because this is not something that actually does more than identify what your position is. I mean, that's the point of this stuff. And this next thing doesn't really matter because it will not become actually effective until it's published. And that may not be for a few days. And depending on how the discussion goes today. If you do not publish it, then this is not out there and it's not effective. It doesn't mean you haven't been made aware of what your position is. Just want to let you know you have that, you have those options.
Then we get copies of this.
I printed a copy of it already.
This is email.
It's in the packet.
I'd say. But this one has corrections. You say typos.
Well,
As one,
still got the logistics.
Okay.
one I'm aware of. Do you have any questions on the project list? Was updated for the last recording of the year. And that's all I have.
I guess I have a question of how the. Not the law board, what is it, the law enforcement agency? I'm sorry, I said, the question about the law board, but not the law enforcement agency or whatever it is.
No, it's the law board.
The law
Nobody
board.
calls it law enforcement.
It's,
Except the statute.
it's been implied since the city has basically has 4 appointees on the board that they would. You know, but the city doesn't direct, I assume. There people they put on there, can they direct them how to vote?
They can make whatever arguments they want, but I mean, that's. The people there are have
Supposed to be
a duty to make their own decisions, obviously. But there's nothing prevents either governing body from talking to those who are the appointees they made and say, hey, here's what the board thinks. Then that individual does whatever they're gonna do. The interesting thing about this too is this. Because of the nature of consolidated law enforcement and that continually shifting majority membership, none of this is permanent. Even if the decision were made today and it was something that the board did not like, well, at some point, the board will be in the majority. And would have the ability acting as the law board, assuming it's appointed members one along, to reverse the decision. I'm not saying that's a good idea. I mean, it's not it's maybe one more reason to think this through a bit.
Sign when we have it.
Thank you.
Not good. Come up soon.
Thanks. That's all I have.
Thank you.
That was good.
Time for Elizabeth.
Here's number.
Hit the mic.
All of that.
Commissioner, I had a couple extra handouts to give you that we had it nailed down over the weekend and this morning. So this just is some information about the annual COLA increases since 2016. And percentages proposed this year for merit and COLA separately. So Elizabeth Ward, Human Resources Director. And I did want to just point out that although this is a commission agenda report asking for action, generally, when we come early spring with the COLA and the merit discussion, what we've kind of historically done is the commissioners have chosen to table the decision until we be able to see the final exact numbers of how that budget works out. Obviously, you all know it's in your purview to make that just one of those decisions today, but I did want you to know I don't necessarily expect you to make a decision today. But if you need, it's a good chance for us to talk about where we're looking for CPI, what we're looking at for COLA, and then also try to get what you guys might need for information, more information or different information. So just kind of going through this. It's a regular cycle, you know, we've been working on personnel budgets now for about a month and a half, just trying to hammer down where we are, who's going to be here next year, what a merit increase would look like. Obviously, you know that a merit increase would be based on annual performance, whereas our cost of living increase for our policy has been based on that CPI index. So it's the consumer price index for urban areas in the Midwest specifically is what we use. And we use an annualized rate, which this year the annualized rate is 8%. I know we had talked to you about some different rates previously. So the rate in December was 6.5, but again, the annualized rate was 8%. So that's where we're sitting for this year as far as the data that we have. The merit increase, and I don't know if there's be a question about that, but with us implementing the pay scale last year, we, you know, across the board, the first phase that we gave 10.5%. And then the second phase, we looked at individual positions and longevity and had some different increases there. So leveling that down into the pay scale this year kind of accounts for somewhere between a 1 to a 3% increase for each person. And you can see that the average there on the sheet I gave you with the merit increase is 2.11%. At least the way that we're, you know, figuring out the budgets now. So if I take that and the cost of living, the CPI index using the 8%, then the average is 10.19. So that's merit and cost of living together. One of the things that I know you all remember from last year's conversation is trying to stay competitive with the market. You all and our teams did a lot of work last year to try to get our pay scales to be competitive, to be able to be in that market rate where we wanted to be. And so one of the things we always talk about is the cost of living. It's all of our employees are affected by the cost of living. And so in order to stay competitive, you know, we were, and to stay with our pay scales, the work that we've done, we would recommend really considering that cost of living as well. So the fiscal impact, and it does have in there approximate. So these are rough numbers, right? We're going to refine those as we go. And honestly, even the work that I did, since this was submitted on Tuesday, and so even the work that I've been doing with directors throughout the week, the merit increase average is about 455,000, and the merit in COLA is about 2.5. So it's you know, again, approximate, and we'll hammer down all of those numbers as well. So that is crux of what we're looking at this phase of the budget process. And I would love to have, if you have got direction, if you'd like to see some different calculations or if you just want to kind of mull it over for a while or anything else, I mean, that's what I would love to hear.
This thing here, you say 23 was 5.1. Where did he come up with that?
I was wondering that too.
We gave everyone a 10.5 plus some got more than that. How do you?
Right, because the
Where do you
10,
make up these numbers?
I don't make up.
Yeah,
the
well, you
numbers.
did. I mean, yeah.
Well, so where this number comes from is from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. That's the.
Now, this
annualized-
says Riley, this says Riley County actual analyzed
Right.
COLA by year.
Right, and what those are is that would be the COLA by itself. So the COLA last year was incorporated into the salary study. And the salary study where we determined that we were, for our salaries, because of the history that we had done last year was that 10.5%. So the CPIU index didn't change, but our salaries had been so far behind. And Rich had been talking about that for years. The previous director of human resources had been talking about it. So that 10.5% was not a COLA increase specifically. That 10.5% was our salary study implementation. And I can send you the link. I can also download it, but this comes right from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, their annualized numbers.
Yeah, I mean, you send it in here, you know, it's in the packet.
Number still doesn't make sense on this sheet either, because if you're going at an 8%, for instance, admin serve, I guess that's counselor. 1.66 would actually equal a 9.66, would it not?
Well, so this is just taking the number. So if I take the pay rate, add the merit increase, and then I add an 8% to the pay rate, it turns out to be, so what, and there's all ways to do that, right? So merit, way we've calculated previously is merit. We take our merit increase first. So that turns out to be wherever we leaven them in the pay scale. And then we would add 8%. And so it doesn't turn out to be exactly 9.66. It turns out, and that's an average, remember too. So each person, maybe one person in the counselors has a 2%, and one person in the counselors has a 1.5. So the average across that is 9.79.
Rich, did you have something?
Just regarding Greg's question, remember that 10.5 you're talking about was implemented half year. So half of that would be annualized for the COLA portion of that,
Oh,
so.
that's the first.
Yeah,
okay,
the
so
first
don't
was a
get kicked
regular,
in
was
July.
that the whole
Okay,
bag,
all
so I just wanted to
see.
reiterate that.
I mean,
That's what gets you to that overall year of 5%, as opposed to, because no one got a 10% increase for the entire year of last year. We didn't implement it until July.
well,
Right,
at
phase
the
one
end
in
of the
July.
year, they were 10% of what they were in June.
But they only received
They
pay of
received
5%
half,
from the
but they
previous
did.
year,
Yeah.
which would be
Yes.
COLA.
Half a year.
But we, you know, when we did this, like I say, mid-year, it was because, you know, it's like you said, it was part catching up and part COLA that just the inflation was going 8 and 9% in the first year.
Yeah.
But even though it averaged, as you can see at the end of the year and for this year, it's more like 6.
Yeah, no, that's true.
You know, the last part of the year after that 10 that already went in, it's been closer to 6.
Right. You know, that, and
Starting through this year.
right, and we can get those, and I think they're on there for the first 2 months. I don't
Pretty
think March is in there, okay?
Yeah, it's on there. It's at 4.9.
Yeah, so I mean, that is part of the consideration each year, right? So we have used the annualized at the end of the year. But this is an unusual time. Last year was extremely unusual. This is extremely unusual year. So yeah, that's definitely part of the consideration where you think cost of inflation might be going here.
And last year was unusual, remember, it was partially because of cost of inflation,
Yes,
but it was partially to catch back up with market, and I have to emphasize catch back up, because there were a couple of years we didn't receive any COLA or staff. And that's of no fault of the sitting commission, but that put your staff behind market, and it was a convoluted process last year because of all of those various factors that are involved. It wasn't just COLA. It just wasn't just inflation. It was because of previous decisions that we made, and we were well behind.
right.
And as you said, though, it's almost a year behind when it's done. But last year, when we did it mid-year, that wasn't an end of the year before, that was a mid-year correction. So it made up for the high stuff in the first part of the year, not to say it's gone down, I'm not saying the obvious, it's still inflation, but it's slowed down.
And I'm not just referring to catching up from the previous year, I'm talking about catching up. from
Right.
the previous
Years.
many years. it
Yeah,
wasn't done.
years.
Right, I think that's an important point. I mean, last year was unique. It was a different situation where we implemented a salary study that was outside of our regular budget processes.
But again, it was considering the fact that inflation was at 8.9.
It definitely considered that, yes, but it was the other part of that was everything where we had gotten to over the years. And even before our inflation and even before the pandemic happened and kind of things got a little bit crazy in the job market, you know, we had seen this pattern. We were not in step. We were not in a market spot prior to that.
And I think since we did that, we've had a lot fewer resignations and jobs filled, so it feels like at least it looks like we're getting back to where we need to be.
Yes, yeah, our turnover rate has gone down. Our ability to fill, I know you guys hear a couple departments particularly that have had a hard time filling, but our ability to fill has really been impacted positively. And I think that was part of the problems that we were trying to solve. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I see that 8%, I'd see it. I mean, I understand the impact of that. And I'm just, I have to present you the numbers that are out there, but that doesn't mean that we can't, work in some direction that you feel like we can, I can get you numbers for a different percentage point. We can do a lot of different things. You just collectively have to kind of decide what you'd like to see and how to go from there. And maybe even that you don't know today. If you want to take this and roll it around, that's okay too. But if there's something you'd like to see, I'm more than happy to work on it. I know we had kind of geared up for that 6.5%. We had talked about that quite a bit. And so, yeah, it's disappointing to see the 8%.
Now, is that at the end of the quarter numbers or what numbers? Where we go?
The 6.5% was December, the end of the year, but it wasn't annualized across the year. And the way that we've consistently done it is annualized. And the way that rural policy, I don't know, maybe 10 or 11 years ago is consistently using the annualized rate. So the first half of 2022 was, 8-9 plus percent. And then even in the second half, the majority of the months were over that 8%, but we've got then the last two kind of pulled down and now we may be on a lower trend.
In our policy for years, we just use CPI at the end of May. But the law board, I'm not sure if it's the law board of the city that made the transition to annualized in December. And then the board sitting here at that time said, let's be consistent because we always look at the city of Manhattan as RCPD is our competitors and a good snapshot of where we should be. And so that's why this board years ago asked staff to make that transition, present these figures to the board. And once again, can't emphasize enough that COLA estimation is just a place filler in this time. It is not in the budget. So we'll get a lump sum amount at the bottom of Daryl's spreadsheet for the commissioners to consider as we go through the budget process. The steps / merit, whatever you want to call them, are placed in each individual departmental.
Right, and we're working these numbers so that you have things to think about, but that doesn't mean we can't rework them with different percentage points and. Yeah, previous to, and I couldn't find a year on that, but it's been several. It's been a pretty long time that we used to do it at the end of May for 12. It was still annualized. It was still 12-month annualized, but it was the end of May versus the end of December. But this is, from what I can tell, everything from 2016, which would have been the year ending 2014, has been annualized to December because the numbers match the CPI.
So I'll have to go through this, but I'm not voting on anything today, that's for sure.
Yeah.
That wasn't the intent.
That's never their expectation. I mean, obviously you have the right to, but that's not.
Place to learn the budget for now.
Yeah.
Very large.
Yeah, well, and we need to get you the information, right? So we need to get you the information before it's the time that you have to make a decision. And so, you know, that's this. And if you want, again, if you want different information to come back, we've got the time to do that. And if you'd like to sit down and I can show you individual, you know, how the department and how that average, I mean, I'm more than happy to show you those spreadsheets too. You know, I don't know what information will be most helpful to you without inundating you with budgets. Because obviously a lot of our budget work are worksheets now. They're just built worksheet stages.
So we probably get a better idea, probably at the end of the second quarter, like where we are. You know, inflation wise, then the feds are gonna do some adjustments. Who knows?
That doesn't mean anything good.
Well,
They're
so
trying to get
the
it down. like-
commissioners know that stuff can help you decide where you want to end landing, but
Yeah.
we're not gonna change these figures. We're gonna stick with county policy until you tell us county policy is different. We're following a different one, but we're gonna leave this number as this until instructed differently from the board.
Absolutely. And I'm thinking, so if I heard you right, you said the end of Q2, which I don't know if that works in our timeline, if I.
And
as
what
far-
you say.
Well, the end of Q2 and then to use those numbers, that's, I don't know when you're. I don't know.
It could be the
calendar
budget
on my
won't
head.
be finalized by then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I don't know.
It'll be finalized
Last
by then.
thing, so it'll be July, August, July.
Yeah.
So that's-
Yeah, because they won't have that number into July, but yeah, if that works with the calendar.
Yeah, and that's, yeah, we'll take a look at it. Later, I think. And any numbers that we need from Elizabeth between now and then.
Then. Are these the number, these were the actual numbers used by the county? Or this is.
On those years.
That's what they used. Because you're saying we got way behind, but if you look at those versus the CPI numbers, there's not that much difference.
But we didn't get steps. They would not give step.
Oh, just only get total, not steps,
Oh,
okay,
Now, then each step was 3%. And
oh, okay.
it doesn't matter which outside consulting firm you choose to evaluate. As you've seen the Arnold Group with the city of Manhattan and RCPs, everyone will tell you every time, whatever you settle on. Annually do a step and a COLA, or you get behind mark.
Okay, so they're giving totals, not steps.
Well, and
Okay,
I
wasn't
could get
clear.
that. I mean, I could get you the exact, because we did that for last year's presentation for the salary study to show how we got behind. So, I mean, I have it and I would just have to update 1 year
Yeah.
of where we got step and COLA.
It's
Oh,
been somewhere between about 3 and 4.5% total.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, if it's relevant, that's information we have, but
okay.
yeah, and the reason I would just, it might be obvious to you all, but the reason that you want to do merit and COLA is because, so if I'm gaining experience, if I have 5 years, 6 years, and you're not paying me for those years of experience, then I can leave and go work for the city or someone else, and they'll hire me
Based on that.
based on my years of experience, but you're not giving me credit for that experience. And I'm just using myself as an example, but that's across the board for our employees. So if we do cost of living, they're all experiencing cost of living. And they're working, they're continuing to gain experience and knowledge for us. So that's why you would compensate for both of those. And when we can't hire a new person for the rate that we're paying the current person, then the new person gets paid more and we got serious wage compression and yeah. So it is, I mean, it is ideal, like Rich said, to stay with a consistent pay scale. But we'll have to see how that turns out. Okay. All right. Like I said, if you need anything or you have ideas that you want to roll around, let me know, please.
Mr. Stuckey.
So.
You have enough for everybody?
Oh, yeah.
Usually.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, thank you. Okay, we'll get that. Thank you, ma'am.
Morning, Commissioner Russell, City Emergency Management, County Fire. Just coming back to you to discuss the fire station bids that we got. We had the discussion at the advisory board meeting last week and they all thought that it was as bid this way, they were just too expensive and with our current funding and budgeting, we can't afford it. So, the advisory board's recommendation was that we reject these bids and then look at the, as has been done in the past by the fire district, be our own general contractor. And, have the dirt work done and then look at whether we build just the building to be built on our level pad that we've already produced, or whether we even break it down so far as to have the concrete done ourselves and then order a building package and then hire a contractor to put it up. Or this, there was a suggestion and they said it hadn't been that many years ago, and there's, I think, 2 or 3 of the current fire stations where they ordered the building kit and we had our own barn raising, and we have construction guys on the fire department that, as one option. I'm not saying I recommend that, but looking at all the options, try and get it down as economic as we can. But the main action, my understanding, needs to be done today is to officially reject those bids, and then with the commission's blessing consensus, look at the general contractor out. The first thing to do would be get the dirt work done. I think a lot of the smaller bidders don't do the dirt work, and they, as a lot of you probably seen, they advertise, we'll come build the building on your level site. And so that was something that didn't allow a lot of the small bidders to bid the project at some of the quotes we got that were considerably cheaper. So I think there's an avenue to go, but without some other funding source, I don't think these are responsible use of tax dollars.
You will do this in conjunction with public works as far as dirt work, that kind of thing, or?
We've asked them if they'd be interested in doing dirt work. They said no.
Yeah. But there are small, there are contractors,
And staff thinks that there's a possibility that by doing it just as our own general contractor, there's probably some of them out there that would potentially even do it for cost, since it's for the volunteer fire department, versus doing it through a general contractor and those markups.
when plans, when you do that type of work, will they still have to be? We'll have to bid out each section separately, public bids. Or what's is there a dollar figure below which you don't have to?
Well,
It's usually, I was gonna say it's policy more than a state statute.
Okay, I didn't.
So right now that magic number is 20,000, I think, where we could get 3 quotes versus doing it formal bid. So like the dirt work presumably would be under that. So
Yeah, so we could just get.
3 quotes.
Bid bonds. But we still would require bonding.
Well, I think you still, well, you have to think about that.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to talk to
Oh, okay.
Lacey about those specifics yet.
I don't want to shoot from the hip
Right,
as to what we want to do, so.
Like I said, it's just something we need to look into.
Oh, absolutely.
Fully, it's definitely good.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I will, proceed down any road until Lacey and I have a chance to talk about it.
Yeah.
Other than maybe just making some inquiries of dirt work companies, for example, hey, would you be interested? It's okay, to get your name and contact. But other than that, we wouldn't, do anything as far as. Obviously, we wouldn't do anything binding without coming back to the commission.
It's a good question, though.
Or we just need to reject the bills.
I'll go ahead and make a motion then to recommend RC FD #1 staff to reject all bids received for new fire stations at Ashland and University Park.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to for the recommendation from the RCFP #1 staff to reject all bids received for the new fire stations at Ashland and University Park. All in favor? Aye.
Thanks. Yeah,
Question I made, we need like consensus, say, we agree with being try and look into what the proposals he's looking at. And find it out.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, just want to clarify that. Sure.
Thanks.
Good with
Appreciate
that.
all your work.
Yeah.
Usually good to have a good record. Keep them.
We should have Amanda at 11.
On Monday, it's kind of quiet. Monday.
All pretty significant things.
Yeah.
You know, I've also talked to Dawn, but if it is too cost prohibitive, you know, the commissioners. I don't know that staff will want to do that time, but the commissioners just said staff will do the entire pad site. It's now your Riley County Public Works place and all the asphalt work. And so.
So
We do have the
don't wanna do
equipment.
it. Yeah.
And staff.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
That's a big way that we save a lot of money in that project up there, and we're able to pay all cash for it. You know, we've gone to nothing, but $12 million project,
Which,
entire public workshop site,
oh,
all those buildings,
really?
which is much bigger than a fire station.
Mhm.
But how much did you give to them? This property they sold.
Boy, Clancy, do you remember how much we got for that property we sold in Anderson?
I don't, because I remember the auction, but I don't remember what the price was.
I could look it up, Greg.
I just wonder, you know, what percentage
What
of
popped in my head was 3 million, but I had no idea if that's.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
correct.
It was unique.
I could check,
I know that. It was,
I could check.
that was an interesting conglomeration of buildings.
Now, what was that?
It's where Sonic and
where
those,
Sonic and
yeah.
Walgreens.
Oh, really? Okay.
And all that land back behind there too, that's still undeveloped.
And at the time, they said they hope to get the money from that to build it.
Well, no, it was never the intent to build the entire
Yeah,
thing.
all I saw was.
Yeah.
The paper, so.
You know how that goes now, don't you? You don't believe that as much as you used to, did you?
Well, now, wait a minute. It was in the paper. Come on, Rich.
That was never the intent from anyone internal.
But I just wondered how much.
Remember, the land out there had already been purchased for decades prior, so that land the county already owned.
Yeah, and I think at the time there was approval by the voters to go ahead and
Like in 1984,
Yeah.
they had approved to move the shop.
to move the
site.
shop site. That had already been
It
done,
took
and then
that
it,
long to get done.
yeah.
Is there still land? There's still land out there. There's
48.
Well, that's where plans, there are plans Public Work has to move extension and fairgrounds and.
up there. Yeah, I knew there was plans somewhere.
Yeah, where are those plans located at?
Public Works. You want them regurgitated.
Yeah, I'd like to see them.
Well, for that fair, for the task, well, I'm sure they're probably gonna get it.
Oh, maybe.
amazed at how many people are even aware of it.
Yeah.
Like,
I wasn't aware of it
It's-
either, so I
it's-
talked to a former commissioner.
It's
Yeah,
what we
Dave, yeah.
talk about when you lose institutional knowledge around here, things to, just like the CD drive overpass over the river there. We also knew about that.
No. Holler about a substation.
Hmm?
I said, the holler about a substation and there's electrical, what would happen if you jumped out of traffic?
Probably not gonna stop the state though, but.
Yeah, yeah, well, that's.
Ready for Amanda?
Yes.
Righty, good morning again, commissioners. Amanda Webb, planning director, here with another temporary environmental health services contract for your consideration. Of course, as you folks know, we're still without our environmental health specialist, and we are doing everything we can to try to get somebody in the position, but in the meantime, of course, we're also doing everything we can to keep things moving. You folks approved a contract for Deanna Presley a few weeks ago to do soil evaluations, and that's going really well. She and her class have already done a couple out there, and I have her scheduled for the middle of May currently, and I'm sure more coming in every day. But that's been going really well. And we've just been kind of doing the best we can with other things. So what we have before you this morning is a contract with Mr. Randy Barton. He is a retired sanitarian, but he actually works with Morris County 1 day a week. And he heard my pleas and cries, and he luckily reached out and offered his services to us up to 1 day a week as well. So, and what you see there in the contract, those are the things he and I spoke about that he would be doing. Basically, the information that we get regarding the soils, the soil characteristics, all of that are what determines the kind of system that goes in. Everything from if it's a standard to an alternative to a lagoon, and then of course the particulars for those types of systems as well. I can do very, very limited determinations there, but it's working way better if they had somebody who, you know, really realistically knew what they were doing. And so that's something he can do for us. He can take that. I'll be honest. I'll also be honest. I've reached out to Perry a few times to check my work, please, and he's graciously done that for me. So, so Mr. Barton, of course, can take that information and determine the type of system that's needed. And then he can also inspect those systems to make sure they're getting installed correctly. So those are a couple of course, very important pieces to what we're doing here. So if we can do this contract, and we have the contract with Ms. Presley to do soils, we'll be pretty well covered for a little bit here. Again, some of the other stuff, myself and my staff have been able to kind of fill in. So we'll be okay, you know, for a little bit here. So I do apologize. It's again unsigned by him in front of you today. There is something Nancy and I are working to confirm with our insurance company. Mr. Barton just kind of had a little bit of question about liability, just kind of wanting to make sure he's understanding everything on his end and he's comfortable. So that's kind of where we are and why it's not yet signed by him. Of course, if he was comfortable with the terms as outlined, he's looked over and he's read it. He just had that clarifying question we're working on. Of course, if anything was to change in here, you know, he said, oh, I want to see X, Y, and Z or whatever it might be. Of course, it would come back to you folks before, you know, it was signed and gone forward with. So I know, you know, you're signing it without his today, if you're okay with that. But I just do, again, want to assure you, if anything does change, it will come back before you for your review again. So. And of course, his fees more than covered by our budget, so no need for any additional budget request. Any questions, comments on that?
So he is certified by the state.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't see that in, but I would assume that.
Yes, yeah. He's got all that.
And turning over every rock. I'm like,
Okay, well, I'm gonna make a motion then to authorize the BOC of the chairman to sign the contract for temporary environmental health services.
no second.
It's been moved and seconded to have the chairperson sign the contract for temporary environmental health services. All in favor? Aye.
Sure, please.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Amanda. Have a good week.
Concludes our regular business. Is there anything else? Scott?
I don't have anything. Okay, we'll make a motion to adjourn the April 17th meeting of the Riley County Commission.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn the Raleigh County Board of Commissioners meeting of April 17th, 2023. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Have a good week.
We do.
Pray for more rain.
Have a good meeting at noon. John,
Yeah.
Clancy.
So we didn't leave me on.
Earn your money today, aren't you?
Well, I'll see everyone in 2 weeks.
You're leaving.
We'll be gone
Go on vacation.
Thursday and Monday, and then next